everyone, my name is Jessica. Welcome back to GED on Language Arts. Now that you're here and ready to move forward with Chapter 2, let's get started. As a reminder, we'll be using the Kaplan GED Test Prep Plus 2020 book for this and all videos offered through the GED On platform. You can find links below to purchase the book at your local store or online. We'll be starting our second video by covering Unit 1, Reasoning Through Language Arts, Chapter 2, Analyzing Nonfiction and Informational Text. Chapter 2 will be covering lessons 1 through 6, starting on page 84 of the Kaplan book. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin with Lesson 1, Purpose of Text. Writers have different reasons or purposes for writing. It can stem from wanting to write about their personal life to wanting to educate others about a certain subject. Nonetheless, it is important that you as the reader comprehend not only what the writer is writing about, but also the purpose, the reason why he or she is writing the text, passage, or story. Writers of nonfiction and informational text actually have one or more purpose when they write. Let's review the following purposes below. The first purpose is to narrate. That is to tell a story in chronological order of how events happened or occurred. An example of this would be a person's life story. The next purpose would be to inform. That is to present facts and data to explain a subject, situation, or idea. An example to inform would be a news article on COVID-19. Another purpose would be to persuade. That is, the writer seeks to change the reader's mind by including his or her opinion, recommendation, or conclusion. An example to persuade would be a political speech for a presidential campaign. The last purpose would be to entertain. The writer is trying to amuse or interest the reader. An example of this would be an online celebrity article on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Now that we've covered the purpose of text, let's take a look at our first written example found on page 84. We'll be reading this paragraph together. The paragraph states, according to market research, video game sales, including digital downloads and apps, in the United States topped $15 billion in 2010. The most popular game genres were action with 21.7% of sales, sports with 16.3%, and shooter with 15.9%. Family entertainment games accounted for only 9.1% of sales. Now that we have read example 1, let's answer the presented question. What is the writer's purpose for this paragraph? Would it be A, to present facts about video game sales, or B, to convince readers that family entertainment game sales should be increased? As a reminder, the purpose is the reason why he or she, the writer, is writing the text. So which answer seems to be the writer's purpose for this paragraph? If you chose A, to present facts about video game sales, That is correct. We can find evidence of this in the first and second sentence of the paragraph. For example, as stated in the second sentence, the most popular game genres were action with 21.7% of sales, sports with 16.3%, and shooter with 15.9%. This tells us the actual facts about video game sales. In contrary, with option B, the paragraph does not try to convince readers that family entertainment game sales should be increased. It only states that family entertainment games accounted for only 9.1% of sales. Therefore, it is incorrect. Now that we have finished our first lesson, let's do practice 1 found on page 85. At this time, please pause the video and read practice 1, Silk Now and Then, found on page 85. When you're ready to restart, click play. Now that we've read the practice 1 passage, let's go over the following questions. Question 3 asks, this purpose of this passage is to ... We have a few options here to choose from. Option A states criticize ancient peoples for overvaluing silk. Option B states explain how silk fabrics are made. Option C states entertain readers who enjoy historical travel. And option D states inform about the historical importance of silk. If you chose answer D, inform about the historical importance of silk, you are correct. This is due to how the passage begins by discussing the historical importance of silk and continues throughout the passage to introduce new points about this topic. Now moving on to question 4, it asks, how does the information in the second paragraph support the purpose of the passage? Our options are A, it illustrates why silk remains an expensive product today. B, it refutes the notion that silk is a valuable product in the modern world. C, it provides examples of silk's historical importance in trade and culture. Or D, it compares the value of silk to that of other products from Asia. If you selected C, it provides examples of silk's historical importance in trade and culture. That is the correct answer. As stated in the second paragraph, nomads traveling to China for silk and the creation of the Silk Road are examples of silk's importance. You may now pause the video and complete questions 1 and 2. Click play when you're ready to continue. Welcome back. We're now moving to lesson 2, effectiveness of argument. You may think of an argument as being a quarrel between two people. However, in reading and writing, an argument consists of the following. A statement, which is a conclusion about something. The evidence, which is support that is given for the argument. The premises and unstated premises called assumptions behind the argument. Basically, an argument is a statement that takes a position. Be aware that writers should provide supporting evidence for their argument. Otherwise, they're just making an unsupported claim. Sometimes writers clearly state the premises behind the argument, but in other cases they do not. Therefore, you may need to read more carefully to infer or guess their assumptions. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at our second written example found on page 86. The paragraph states, in the past few years, the majority of state governments have passed laws making it illegal to send text messages while driving. These laws are clearly a good decision for which legislators should be praised. Drivers are 23 times more likely to have accidents while texting than they are while driving undistracted. It is common sense that the government has a responsibility to protect its citizens from the recklessness of a careless few. Now that we have read example 2, let's answer the following question. The question asks, what is the writer's argument about anti-texting laws? Is it option A, such laws are a good idea because drivers are prone to accidents while texting? Or is it B, the majority of state governments have passed laws making it illegal to text while driving? If you selected A, such laws are a good idea because drivers are prone to accidents while texting, you are correct. The evidence is shown in the second sentence of the paragraph. As the sentence states, these laws are clearly a good decision for which legislators should be praised. Unfortunately, option B is not the correct answer due to how it's not the writer's argument about anti-texting laws. Now that we have finished our second lesson, let's do practice 2 found on page 87. At this time, we ask that you please pause the video and read practice 2, Make a Minimum Wage Work for Workers found on page 87. When you're ready to restart, please click play. Now that we've read practice 2, let's start answering the following questions. Question 1 asks, which of the following is the main point of the passage? Is it A, states the minimum wages differ from the federal minimum wage? B, the federal government should automatically raise the minimum wage to match price increases? C, the federal minimum wages ensures a comfortable living for people earning it? Or D, state minimum wages are the result of political games played with people's livelihoods? The correct answer is B, the federal government should automatically raise the minimum wage to match price increases. The writer states in the second paragraph that several states have taken the sensible step of automatically raising their minimum wage to adjust for inflation and consumer price increases. Later in the same passage, the writer states that the federal government should follow the lead of the states. Thus, the writer is recommending that the federal government should adjust the minimum wage for the price increases. Moving along forward with question 2. What is the writer's argument about states that automatically raise their minimum wages? Is it A, those states' wages have not kept pace with the rate of inflation? B, people earning more than minimum wage in those states are wealthy? C, those states have many workers in poverty? Or D, those states have systems superior to the federal system of manual increases? If you chose option D, those states have systems superior to the federal system of manual increases, you are correct. The writer's main point is that the federal government should adopt automatic minimum wage increases, as some states currently have done. Thus, the writer believes that the state systems are better than the current federal system. You may now pause the video and complete questions 3 and 4. Click play when you're ready to continue. We're now moving on to Lesson 3, Validity of Arguments. Just because a writer makes an argument does not mean that you have to accept it as valid. You need to analyze the supporting evidence and make your own conclusion. In the following table below, you'll see some types of support for arguments and the ways that you can question their validity. As shown in the table in the first column, a type of support for arguments is facts. Facts is described as objective facts that can be tested or measured. The ways you can question the validity of facts is to ask, is the information complete, or is it partial, or selectively chosen? Another type of support for argument is data or statistics. Data or statistics is described as numerical data that have been gathered or sampled. The ways that you can question the validity of this type of support is to ask, do the numbers accurately represent the subject? How were they gathered? Examples or anecdotes are another type of support for arguments. Examples or anecdotes are described as stories to demonstrate the truth. The ways that you can question the validity of this type of support is asking, are the stories true? Are they relevant? The next type of support for arguments is authority. Authority is described as testimonials from recognized authority. The ways you can question the validity of authority is to simply ask, does the person really know the issue, or is he or she a spokesperson or celebrity? Lastly, causality is a type of support for arguments. Causality is described as assertions that one thing caused another. The ways that you can question the validity of this type of support is asking, is this really a cause or is it just a related factor? To sum it up, facts, data or statistics, examples or anecdotes, authority, and causality are types of support for arguments that writers use in their writing. Now that we've gone over the types of support for arguments and the ways you can question their validity, let's review our next written example. The following paragraph states, gasoline prices spiked suddenly in the Weston metropolitan area last week when the local oil refinery went offline due to a facility-wide computer malfunction. Shortly thereafter, the average number of miles driven daily by Weston residents fell by a whopping 55%. Clearly, the higher gas prices were responsible for the decline in miles driven. Now that we have read example 3, let's go over the following question. The question asks, what is the argument in the paragraph? Is it A, higher gas prices were responsible for the decline in miles driven? Or is it B, the spike in gas prices was due to a computer malfunction at the local refinery? If you selected A, higher gas prices were responsible for the decline in miles driven, you are correct. As stated in the last sentence of the paragraph, clearly the higher gas prices were responsible for the decline in miles driven. The writer concludes that high gas prices caused a decline in driving and uses the background about the refinery shutdown as support. Therefore, option B would not be the correct answer. Now that we have finished our third lesson, let's do practice 3 found on page 89. At this time, please pause the video and read practice 3, Voting Systems in the U.S., found on page 89. When you're ready to continue, please click play. Let's go ahead and review the following questions about our passage. Question 1 asks, the main point of the passage is that A, unlike optical scanning and punch card voting systems, DRE voting is completely electronic. B, punch card voting systems caused a problem in the 2000 presidential election. C, voting systems have been developed over time to address previous system flaws. D, elections in America have changed greatly over the years. The correct answer is C, voting systems have been developed over time to address previous system flaws. C is the correct answer because the writer introduces DRE voting, describes several voting systems, and concludes by suggesting that DRE continues the trend of new voting systems, correcting some flaws while introducing others. Moving along now to question 2. Which of the following statements, if true, is evidence to support the writer's argument? Is it A, when technology changes, voting systems change along with it? B, DRE voting avoids some problems associated with other voting systems? C, several voting systems have become obsolete because they violated voters' privacy? Or D, no modern-day election would ever be conducted using a public voice vote? If you chose B, DRE voting avoids some problems associated with other voting systems, you are correct. The writer supports the assertion that DRE voting has addressed some flaws of older DRE systems by listing problems that might be encountered with other voting systems, and then stating that DRE voting avoids such problems. You may now pause the video and complete questions 3 and 4. Click play when you're ready to continue. We're now going to move on to lesson 4, text related by theme or topic. You may run into having to read paired passages on a related theme or topic. A topic is what the passages address, and a theme is the writer's message about a topic. So, for example, You may end up reading a scholarly article and an opinion piece about the topic of families, or on the theme of most people can be themselves around their families. For this reason, you will need to understand each text on its own and be able to blend information to draw a conclusion. With that being said, let's now put into practice what we know about text related by theme or topic and view example 4. Example 4 consists of 2 paragraphs about the same topic. One is a news story and the other is a response letter. Let's start off by reading the news story first, that's on the left. Candy, greasy meals, and high-calorie sodas may be banned in U.S. elementary and high schools. According to news reports, new standards proposed by the Department of Agriculture would replace such items as fried potato chips with baked chips and sugary sodas with lower-calorie sport drinks. These regulations are a result of a child nutrition law passed by the U.S. Congress to combat childhood obesity. Now let's read the response letter that's on the right. The paper announced that the government will be mandating healthier food in school cafeterias. Doesn't the government have anything better to do than to babysit our schools? Shouldn't the schools be focused on improving education, not monitoring behavior? Where's the research to show that school meals account for childhood obesity? This is just one more government intrusion into our personal lives. Now that we have read example 4, let's focus on answering the following questions. The first question asks, what is the topic of both of these selections? Is it A, greasy food in school cafeterias, or B, new guidelines for healthy school meals? If you chose B, new guidelines for healthy school meals, you are correct. The news story reports on the regulations, while the response letter criticizes them, thus making option A the incorrect answer. Second question, what information is given in the news story? Is it A, the government is babysitting our schools? Or B, certain unhealthy foods may be banned from public schools? If you chose B, certain unhealthy foods may be banned from public schools, you are correct. In the news story selection, it states factual information on certain unhealthy foods being banned from public schools. You can find evidence of this in the first sentence of the news story. Option A is incorrect due to how it's not part of the information given in the news story. Instead, its information is given in the response letter. Now that we have finished our 4th lesson, let's do practice 4 found on page 91. At this time, we ask that you please pause the video and read practice 4, passage 1 and passage 2 found on page 91. When you're ready to restart, click play. Now that we've read the practice 4 passage, let's go over the following questions. Question 1 asks, the topic of both passages is A. Ways in which industries can exaggerate financial harm. B. Examples of recent legislation to protect the industry. C. Online piracy of music files. D. The signing of new experimental musicians. If you chose C, online piracy of music files, you are correct. Both passages are focused on reasons why online piracy is harmful and the need to take further action. Question 2 asks, the main argument of passage 1 is that ... A. New experimental artists are necessary for the music industry to succeed. B. Additional action to combat online piracy is warranted because piracy causes financial losses to the music industry. C. The shutdown of major file sharing websites was a positive development because they contributed to $12.5 billion per year in damages. D. From 2004 to 2009, 30 billion songs were downloaded illegally. The correct answer is B. Additional action to combat online piracy is warranted because piracy causes financial losses to the music industry. This answer is correct because the first passage concludes that more must be done to prevent online piracy. The factual information that the writer uses to support this theory is information about the financial damage that piracy causes. You may now pause the video and complete questions 3 and 4. Click play when you're ready to continue. We are now continuing on to Lesson 5, Text with Opposing Arguments. You have learned about writers' arguments and about text related by theme or topic. Now you may be presented with two sections that have opposing arguments. This means that you may have two passages that differ from one another on the same topic. Some opposing arguments will reach different conclusions because they use different types of evidence, while other opposing arguments may use the same evidence but have different underlying assumptions. For this reason, you may want to think about the writer's claims, the assumptions, or the thinking behind the positions, and the supporting evidence for each section. Now, let's dig deeper into text with opposing arguments and review the following example. Here we have an example of two paragraphs on the same topic. One is an argument and the other is an opposing argument. Let's start off with reading the argument first. Coal, the source of half the energy in the United States, has been the dirtiest of all fossil fuels because it creates harmful emissions when burned. Help is on the way with the development of new clean coal technologies that reduce coal's environmental impact. These new technologies purify exhaust gases as coal burners, wet scrubbers, and prevent the formation of harmful emissions in the first place, low NOx burners. There's even gasification, which avoids burning coal altogether. Now let's read the opposing argument. Clean coal amounts to just an advertising slogan. Don't be fooled by claims about new technologies making coal a clean burning fuel. The hazards to our environment start well before that. Coal mining wastes huge amounts of water, 70 to 260 million gallons daily. Today's mining companies now use mountaintop removal instead of traditional mining to extract coal. 49 states have issued fish intake advisories due to high mercury concentration in water, much of it due to runoff from coal mining. Now that we have read example 5, let's go ahead and answer the provided questions. What is the topic of both of these sections? A, preventing air pollution from coal, or B, the usefulness of clean coal technologies? The correct answer is B, the usefulness of clean coal technologies. The argument suggests that clean coal will reduce coal's environment impact, while the opposing argument contends that coal will continue to harm the environment, thus making option A the incorrect answer. The next question asks, what type of evidence is provided in the argument? Is it A, statistics demonstrating the effectiveness of clean coal technologies, or B, facts about new clean coal technologies? If you chose B, facts about new clean coal technologies, you are correct. The argument lists and briefly describes the new technologies. Option A is incorrect because of how there's no statistics demonstrated in the argument. Now that we have finished our 5th lesson, let's do practice 5 found on page 93. At this time, please pause the video and read practice 5, argument and opposing argument, found on page 93. When you're ready to begin, please click play. Now that we read practice 5, let's start answering the following questions. Question 1. The topic of both passages is A, violence in movies, B, good and bad parenting decisions, C, the MPAA movie rating system, D, motion picture marketing strategies. The correct answer is C, the MPAA movie rating system. C is correct due to how the writers in both passages are making an argument about the prevalence and trustworthiness of the MPPA rating system. Question 2. Which of the following is the main point of the argument? Is it A, the MPAA rating system replaced the Hays Code? B, the MPAA rating system is a useful tool for parents? C, parents should consult a variety of sources before deciding which movies to allow their children to watch? Or D, the G, PG, PG-13, and R ratings are familiar and easy to understand? If you chose B, the MPAA rating system is a useful tool for parents, you are correct. The writer of the argument in passage 1 uses information about the MPAA rating system to support her argument that the system helps parents to make sound decisions. You may now pause the video and complete questions 3 and 4. Click play when you're ready to continue. Let's move on now to our last lesson, Lesson 6, Text with Related Graphic Information. When reading nonfiction and informational text in a textbook, magazine, or website, it is often joined by a graphic. The graphic can be an illustration, photograph, or a diagram that helps you to understand the information. You will need to be able to combine information from text and graphics to draw conclusions and to make observations about how the graphic supports the information in the text. Let's now take a closer look at an example that shows text with related graphic information. As you can see, this example has both text and a graphic. Let's start off with first reading the text together. Although Leave It to Beaver was a fictional television show, many advertisements, politicians, and movies still echo its portrayal of the typical American household of the 1950s, a married couple with children. A closer look at government statistics shows that it might be time to retool that image. Today, fewer than half of American households are husband-wife households. In fact, more than a quarter of American households are now occupied by one person living alone. A significant group for marketers to target, as those who live alone are entirely responsible for all household purchases. Now that we've read the text, please take a look at the pie chart and observe how the graphic supports the information in the text we just read. Now that we have read the text in example 6 and reviewed the pie chart, let's answer the following question. What is the topic of the story in the graphic? Is it A, the composition of American households, or B, advertising on Leave It to Beaver? If you answered A, the composition of American households, you are correct. The story outlines the current makeup of American households, and the graphic supplies factual details. Option B is incorrect due to how it's not supported by either the story nor the graphic. Now that we have finished our 6th lesson, let's do practice 6 found on page 95. At this time, we now ask you to pause the video and read practice 6, Gerrymandering, Electoral Advantage, found on page 95. When you're ready to restart, click play. Let's go ahead and review the following question about our passage and the two figures. Question 1 asks, which of the following is the main point of the passage and figures? Is it A, Illinois' 4th Congressional District has now been in existence for over 200 years? B, curiosity is the most important ingredient in the democratic process? C, gerrymandered congressional districts are a major threat to the democratic system? Or D, governing parties can use their power to shape electoral districts to their advantage? If you answer D, governing parties can use their power to shape electoral districts to their advantage, you are correct. The passage and figures focus on demonstrating how gerrymandering works. Option A and B are not supported at all by the passage, and option C is far too extreme. You may now pause the video and complete questions 2 to 3. Click play when you're ready to continue. We have finally completed Chapter 2. Way to go, everyone! I know we covered a lot of information in this chapter, but please keep on going. Next video will cover Unit 1, Reasoning Through Language Arts, Chapter 3, Interpreting Fiction. Good luck!